Do you ever feel like life is repeating itself? Like you're stuck in the same lessons over and over? Let's talk about what that might really mean.
Hey, this is Francisca, and this is my Good Crisis Life. What do I want to talk about? I wanted to talk a little bit about life, soul, spirit, dimensions, I guess. So, what would I say? I would say this is just my belief. Nobody has to ascribe to it. But I do truly believe that we have a soul life, and I feel like that soul life is infinite. But I also do feel like that within that infinite soul life, there's a journey. And I do feel that that journey consists of three things: knowledge, wisdom, love of self, and love of others. And I think that those three things combined, whether you talk about it as like this overarching soul journey, or even in like the small finite amount of time that we have here as a human being, those three things combined give you a taste of nirvana, like a taste of what it feels like to understand everything, to see things from every perspective, yeah, to see things from your own perspective, and therefore to forgive and love yourself, to see things from the perspective of every single other person ever, and therefore to forgive and love them, and to have the wisdom to understand what it all means, right? And then I guess with that, to understand that it doesn't really mean anything. So I really do believe that we have this overarching soul life. And I think that as part of that journey, just part of it, I feel that we come down here to earth. And we come down here to earth to collect as many possible experiences as we possibly can. Because only through collecting as many experiences as we can we get to a point where we understand and we love ourselves and everybody else. And I think that every time we come down, we go back up to wherever, let's call it heaven, for want of a better word. We go back up to heaven with all of these collected experiences. And then come back down here to come collect some more. So essentially, I guess I'm saying that every person wants to know what it feels like to be a man, to be a woman, to die an old person, to die a child, to be murdered, to murder someone, to be raped, to rape someone, to do the most heinous crimes and be victim of the most heinous crimes, and everything in between. Because until we've really walked in the shoes of every single thing and every single person and every single scenario and every single experience, how can we possibly say that we understand? How can we possibly say that we forgive? We can say, I probably think I would forgive if that was me or that was you or I was in that situation or whatever. But we don't actually know until we've been there, until we've got there. So I think that the point of this experience here on earth is to come down here and to have all of these experiences and to gather all of these experiences and to build that knowledge and to build that compassion for ourselves and for others. And I've said, I think, pretty much all my life, from as young as I can remember, I've always had this feeling that my parents, bless them, that their souls are not particularly old. When I look at the behavior of my dad, I see like a toddler, someone who, he's dead now, but someone who used to throw his toys out of his pram. Somebody who had no other way to express his needs, his frustration, his fears, and a lot of my dad's stuff was a fear of abandonment. So he would want to control everyone around him so that he didn't ever have to go through that feeling of abandonment that he had from such a very young age here on this earth. So he had a fear of abandonment, but his coping mechanisms were that of a 2-year-old. Even at, 60 whatever when he died, he was literally still having 2-year-old tantrums, stamping his feet, saying no, throwing his toys around, and expecting that people were going to respond to this. That was just where he was at. When I look at my mom, I think that she's more like that kind of 7-year-old. That kind of, oh, I've just worked out that I can manipulate people to my will through behaving certain ways, through responding in certain ways, through treating people in certain ways. And I can do that to get what I want, And I think that's a real 7-year-old thing. You're not that kind of young baby. You're just realizing that the super ego that the society around you, there's a cause and effect. There's an interactive relationship between you and the people around you. You're not the center of your universe anymore, but you're not so integrated into society that you're not still the center of your universe. So it's kind of like, how can I get sweets? How can I get the things that I want? How can I stay up slightly later? How can I get my mum to agree to, I don't know, let me go to the school fair, or like whatever it is, your mind's constantly like ticking over because you've realized that you can make these things happen. But it's not particularly sophisticated, and it's still being used for very selfish and self-centered means. And even now at 73, I see that same behavior happening. And now I'm not sitting here saying that I'm like, a massively evolved soul. I still see myself probably as like a 19, 20-year-old, just on that burgeoning of adulthood, where you're not quite a teenager, so you're not quite kind of in that stage of like, well, who do you think you are to tell me I've learned everything? You kind of realize like, oh, okay, I don't know everything, but also you actually have no idea what you don't know. And you think that you know what you don't know, but actually what you think you don't know is just really what you know. You kind of know this much, and then you think the rest of what you don't know is this much because it's just the opposite of what you know, right? But you're not actually experienced or grown enough to really understand what that means. And I think really that's probably where my soul is at. Why am I saying all this? So I think what's really important, and the way that I try to live my life, amongst other things, but one of, like, I guess the very core mantras that I have in life is this understanding that I have come here in this moment, at this time, in this body, with this set of circumstances, with the family set up in the family dynamics that I have, with the relationships that I have, the interactions that I have. I've come here to learn something. I have come here to experience something. What is the fucking point of all this mayhem, right? Now, I've said before and I'll say again, this may be me just being completely delusional and trying to, what's the word? Reconcile, trying to reconcile my life to actually have some meaning. Now, for me, I've struggled with that concept quite a lot. And I feel like, well, you know what? If this is my own delusion and this is just a way for me to reconcile the pain that I've gone through and make it mean something when actually it really doesn't mean anything, you just got dealt a shit hand and your parents didn't really love or like you or invest in you or care about you in any kind of way. If I have to be in a delusion, okay, all good, right? If it works for me, what does it matter, right? If it makes my life better, okay. If it allows me to help other people, amazing. If it allows me to deal with, I don't know, the things that are thrown at me in life, great. Let me be in my delusion. If it doesn't help anyone and it just helps me, great. Let me be in my delusion. It's all good. I really feel like of those 3 things that I spoke about at the beginning of the video, so, wisdom, love of others, and love of self, I think the thing that I really, really, really struggle with, and maybe have done for eons, for lifetimes, is this love of self. I know a lot, and I don't mean like I'm intelligent. I mean, from a very young age, I've felt like I understand things. I don't know if other people have felt like that from a young age, where they've just kind of gone, this seems a little bit weird. I think that really maybe what's going on is this, and been able to kind of like analyze and had that kind of deep level of intuition of, okay, I don't quite get this, but I think that this is something about this. It's not just about what's happening right here in this moment in time. It's not just about me because I'm a piece of shit. It's not about that person because they're a piece of shit. There's something bigger happening here. There's a bigger picture, right? And I feel like I've known that from a very, very young age. And I feel like I finally got to a point where I realized, okay, I think the reason that I was put in the situation that I was, the reason why I had the parents that I had is because I needed to come here and I needed to learn self-love. Unfortunately, maybe it's just me, maybe it's just my makeup, maybe it's just the way that my soul has been made or the experiences that my soul has had up to date. Maybe it's just this particular incarceration of me. Is that the word? No, that's not the word. This version of me, incarceration means to be locked up. Maybe that's a message. Maybe this particular version of me as a human being was only going to be able to learn like this. I don't know. Or maybe this is the same for all human beings. I don't know, right? But I feel like the only way that I was going to learn self-love was to be in a situation where I wasn't loved. I think that if I was loved, if I was mollycoddled and smothered and, you know, just doused in love, the word is incarnation. That's the word I was thinking of. I'm so tired. I literally have no words in my head. Right. I think that if I was just, you know, imbued with love from the very beginning, I don't know that I would necessarily learn to love myself. I would learn that it was easy to feel love when other people gave it to me. I think I had to really have that harsh lesson of feeling like nobody loves me from a very, very young age, for me to be met and challenged with this thing, to have to find it for myself. It was the only way that I was going to find it actually for myself and be completely unreliant on anybody or anything around me in order to give me that love. And that is what self-love is. It is loving yourself irrespective of what other people do, what other people say, how other people treat you, the worth that other people give to you, the value that other people give to you, and also the things that you do to yourself, the mistakes that you make, the way that you treat yourself, the value that you give yourself based on all of these different individual things. It's about loving yourself irrespective. And I think when I, for example, look at my dad and the things that happened to him from a really, really young age, he was abandoned by his mum for a very young age, brought up by his grandmother, who I was named after, who basically was like his mum. She then died, so abandoned him again. He went to go and live with his dad. His dad was all good with him for a little while, and then got a new girlfriend. That girlfriend got a new baby, so then his dad didn't want him either. His mum had already moved to London from Trinidad, so he had nowhere to go, nobody who wanted him, nobody who loved him. His mum had already sent for her boyfriend before her child, saved up the money and brought her boyfriend over before her child. Now, as a child, that is devastating. As an adult, you could think, well, maybe actually if I bring you over now, we've got two adults and we can save money more quickly. But actually, his mum didn't send for him and his mum didn't bring him over until there was absolutely no other option for him to go anywhere. He then travelled as an 11-year-old on a boat from Trinidad to England by himself, and landed down in Hackney and then had a really difficult time and a really difficult childhood from there. Now, what do you think those circumstances were trying to help my dad to overcome? Fear of abandonment, feeling lost, being able to rely on himself, having faith in himself, having trust in himself. I don't know because I'm not him. So I don't know what he came here to learn. But I know that there was definitely something in those experiences that was set up perfectly, purposely for him to learn something, for him to grow in some kind of way. Instead of that, what he did was he stagnated at that point and regressed throughout his life back to a toddler. Maybe the only time that he felt safe, I don't know, right? And didn't take it as an opportunity to evoke some kind of learning in his soul, in his spirit, to forgive these people, to forgive their mistakes, to forgive the awful things that happened to him, and to grow with love and an open heart, you know? He closed his heart and therefore died knowing no more than he did when he first came here, having learned no more, having spent his entire life in the exact same cycle of abandonment, because what he did throughout his entire life was he controlled everybody around him so much that in the end he disowned me about, I don't know how many times, like 15 times. So when I say disown me, it wasn't like, oh, I disown you, but I'm going to talk to you next week. It was like, no, I will have nothing to do with you for like a year or two, and I'll have nothing to do with you until you come groveling back to me. It's not happening. So he ended up alone. And then finally he ended up being abandoned. And you know what he said to me on his deathbed? He said, I've got all these people around me that love me, but I don't want them. I want to be surrounded by people that I love. And it's sad because he never learned how to love in a way that was healthy, and he never learned the lesson that he came here to learn. So, what I would challenge you to do is I would challenge you to look at the pattern in your life from the beginning. What is the overarching theme? What is it that keeps happening and has happened from the beginning? And what has that made you feel? And what do you need to learn? And can you start focusing on reconciling the pain of these things with an understanding that it's all a blessing, that it's not happening to you, that it's happening for you, and it's happening from you because maybe you're stuck in a loop, you know? Maybe spend some time thinking about that. Because I tell you, it's one of the quickest hacks to contentment. I was going to say happiness, but it's not happiness, it's contentment. Yeah. Something that I'm grateful for. Something that I'm really grateful for. I'm actually really grateful for a series that someone called Aaron Abke did, and it's about the Law of One. And if you don't know anything about it, go check it out because it talks about a lot of the stuff that I've spoken about here today, probably in a lot more succinct and eloquent manner than I could ever explain it. I'm really, really grateful for that and for confirming some of these abstract concepts that have been bounding around in my head since as long as I can remember, that I didn't know whether was really true or a delusion. And actually helped me to accept that if it's a delusion, it's a delusion. I'm all good with that. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it.
So have you noticed patterns in your life that you keep coming back to? Let's reflect together in the comments. And if this video resonated, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep conversation.